All right, everybody, I am Marguerite Crespillo, and thank you for joining us again for another fabulous episode of Real Estate 101. I've been in real estate myself 27 years, so I've been through a lot. And tonight we are going to talk about how to survive and thrive in challenging times. Now, if you do have questions, I ask that you post them in the chat box or wait until I am done. And then I'm more than happy to go back and address any questions that you may have. So, all right, let's dig in. Happy Tuesday night. I know it's late for some of you or on the East Coast out there, but and so thank you for joining us late. But we did this primarily for people who are working a second job during the day, who are trying to get rolling with real estate as well. So let's dive in. Listen, for having spent 27 going on 28 years in the real estate industry, I have been through more than one crisis. I mean, I vividly remember when 9/11 hit and we all thought it was the end of the world. And honestly, as tragic as it was for all impacted by it, we got through it as a community. And I remember when the real estate market started to shift in 2005, long before the bottom hit in 2010. So what is different this time around? And we don't know what's going to happen with the market, right? It could be impacted in a lot of different ways by the election, by COVID, by everything else. Is this time around, there's this social media component of what is going on. And the truth is, we're more connected than we've ever been in history. And this can be a good thing and it can be somewhat of a bad thing, right? And, you know, again, depending on what you think or feel about whoever went into office, the bottom line is we are each in charge of our own economy. And so it's our job and our responsibility to make things work no matter what is going on in the world, right? And so I love this quote that says, when everyone else is experiencing fear, that is the time to maintain courage. When everyone else is in scarcity or lack, that is the time to give. And we must really be able to demonstrate what that looks like to the world, right? So more and more people are no longer controlled by their environment and circumstances that are outside of them. And that was never more apparent with the COVID situation. I mean, I vividly remember in March, it was right around the middle of March when COVID came out and shut everyone down. And we all panicked for a bit. We're all like, oh my goodness, what is going to happen to our real estate market? What is this going to look like, right? Both of my sons are disc jockeys, meaning that they work in the bar industry. So both of them were completely out of work. And we had no idea what was going to happen with the real estate market. I mean, truly, I really did not know. So I really had to focus and think, okay, I've been through this before. So what am I going to do? And what is this going to look like? And we're going to talk about some of the important things to pay attention to. Again, we all thought we were going to be shut down. Luckily, we had an insane, crazy real estate market just about everywhere in the country. Sales were up like they had never been before. So you just never know what's going to happen with the market. And even as confident as you might be, things might be going amazingly well. And then look what happened with the COVID situation. So let's dig in a little bit and talk about some of the big mistakes that I made when we went through this before. And in times of challenge, you really have to do what's best for you and your family. And sometimes that might require you to set aside pride and ego. So let me talk about some of those mistakes and successes that I had during the worst real estate market in history. We're talking about the REO crisis. I'll tell you that number one was not looking closely at expenses and income. You know, it's easy to rack up expenses when you're making lots of money. It's easy to get signed up for subscriptions and all kinds of things that you probably wouldn't normally spend money on when the money is flowing in big time. So I encourage you to take all of your credit card statements, go through them in your bank accounts, and line by line, look at what you are spending. Even better yet, you can take your credit cards and once a year, cancel the number on that credit card. And you'll be amazed at all the things that you'll start to see showing up, like something you signed up for a year ago, some app you bought and you completely forgot about it and they charge you, $29.99 a year. all of those little $10, $20, $30, $50, $500 expenses add up. And this is something I did back in March as well. I really hunkered down. I looked at everything I was spending and looked how important what I was spending money on was, and whether it was something I could truly cut out or not. So I encourage you to do this both in good times and bad, is to take a few minutes each month, if at all possible, and really kind of dig into what your expenses are and what's going on with them. This was a huge mistake that I made back in 2005. Number two was not cutting people and things loose fast enough. Now, this comes to if you have administrative staff, you have helpers, you have assistants, you have things like that. Now is the time to really look at how important those people and things are. Not that it's personal. It's not that you don't love your assistant or the people that you work with, but the bottom line is you've got to make sure that you're taking care of and providing for your family. And your family has to come first. And, there are so many times when I hung on to people way longer than I should have. And when I finally did cut them loose, they were just as relieved as I was. And so not only does that pertain to people, but it can pertain to things as well, such as certain cars or houses or things that you're spending money on a regular basis. Are you really paying attention to how important those are? I know that I really struggled when it came to my car, because I love my Denali. And so I had to make the decision whether I was going to cut loose expenses in other areas and hang on to my car, or cut my car loose and be able to save money in other areas. So this was really important, is to really looking closely at your numbers and your finances and where you're spending your money. Again, this should happen not only in bad times, but in good times as well. Number three was not staying in better contact with my database. I'll tell you, I've always been a big database proponent, and many of you have maybe seen some of my classes and presentations about that. If not, head on over to my YouTube channel and you can subscribe and watch some of previous trainings and classes that I've done over there. But staying in contact with your database is essential. When REOs came along, and REOs are bank foreclosures, for those of you who are not familiar, is that for many of us, we just went full force and energy into the REO world and abandoned our database, which was one of the biggest mistakes I think that I made in my career, is not staying in better contact with those people where I may have been able to help with short sales or foreclosures. I may have been able to help do more for people in my database. And what I've figured out is that I'm not going to let that happen this time around. Again, I'm not advocating that we're headed to a market crash or that we're even headed into the REO environment. We may or may not be. I personally don't think that's going to happen right away, but it could be something down the road, and I don't want anyone to be blind to it. So make sure you're staying in contact with your database. Again, if you're in the REO arena, then you might want to be working on those relationships. If you're not in the REO arena, honestly, I'll do a class on that in coming weeks. I don't know that I would go back myself to the REO market and world. It was very, very different. I would instead focus more on what I could do to help people in my community and help in my database. So again, staying in contact with your database is essential. However you do that, I mail monthly to my database, and there are some classes about that as well on my YouTube channel, so you can check that out. Number four, I would say, is important in not asking for help. When you're going through financial challenges, it can be embarrassing, it can be uncomfortable, it can feel awkward, and you don't want to talk to people. I can tell you that back in 2008, when we were already 2.5 years into the market crisis, myself and my family, we were forced into bankruptcy because I did not cut things and people loose fast enough. And, I thought it was the end of the world. I didn't want anyone to know. I was embarrassed and uncomfortable. But I have to tell you that most recently, I checked my credit score, and it's now been 11 years since our bankruptcy, and my credit score was 865. Now, I'm not saying that to brag. I'm just telling you that when I filed bankruptcy in 2009, I literally thought I would never have good credit again. I thought that would haunt me and chase me down for my whole life. And why do I tell you that story? Because so many of you and possibly potentially your clients are in that same situation where they feel like it's the end of the world. And I've seen so many horrible things happen as a result of that, including, suicide and divorce and lots of other things. And if I can help even one person avoid that embarrassment and that uncomfortableness, then I've been able to do my job. It's not the end of the world, and you can get through it just like we did. The market crash and crisis was a very challenging time. And one mistake I made was really not reaching out and asking for help and getting the help that I probably could have used to have avoided that situation. So I encourage you to really pay attention to a lot of these mistakes. And I hope that you will also avoid all of them if at all possible. I can assure you that if the market shifts and changes again, I will be much better prepared this time. And hopefully you can learn from some of my mistakes as well. I love this quote too. In a world of change, the learners shall inherit the earth, while the learned shall find themselves perfectly suited for a world that no longer exists. So, what does that mean? It means that we're always learning. Again, I've been in real estate 27 years. And during that time, every time I thought that I had it all figured out, things shifted and things changed, right? And so, always be learning, always be finding a way. Know that the one consistent thing that happens in this planet is change. And again, for those of you who thought in February and the beginning of March that, man, this year was going to be the year, and you had a million things planned and we're all excited, maybe you had trips and vacations planned, and the real estate things that were going on, and then COVID hit and our whole world fell apart and changed completely. Now, some people adjusted and shifted and made it their best year yet, which includes myself. Some hunkered down and they just buried their head in the sand and thought they'll come up for air when things change. They didn't want to change anything. So not only did we deal with COVID this year during an election year with all the craziness of the politics, no matter what side you're on, it was crazy. I personally also went through breast cancer treatment. So not only did I have to readjust during COVID times, but I also had to figure out how was I going to continue to work and provide for my family while dealing with breast cancer treatment. Well, I'm thrilled to say that I flew through breast cancer treatment. I'm done with that, and I'm now getting back to life as normal as possible. But what it did show me was how I could really rely on other people to help, how I could reach out and get the help that I needed, and how I could continue to count on my database and count on other income sources such as revenue share with EXP and a number of other things, that I was able to financially survive not only a year in COVID, but a year dealing with breast cancer. So those are all things that you really want to look at, because on top of dealing with COVID, I had no idea that just, 2.5 months later, I would be trying to figure out how to fight for my life. So, we all have things happen, where it can completely change the way we looked at things. And all we have to do is figure out another way. Everything is figure outable. My favorite word by my good friend and mentor, Marie Forleo, who was my personal coach back in 2009. And I remember vividly when I was trying to figure out the whole bankruptcy and all that kind of stuff and going through some challenges in my personal relationship. I remember her saying, look, Marguerite, everything is figure outable. There's a way and a will, and all you have to do is figure it out. Just keep moving and things will come together. So this is really something important that I want you guys to think about as you are trying to adjust to things changing. Again, we're in constant change, not only in our market, but in our life and in our world. So some ways to figure things out, right, is to get creative and get connected. As I said, we're more connected than we've ever been via social media, but in a lot of ways, we're more disconnected than we've ever been. So number one is get on the phone. There's nothing like just getting on the phone and actually talking to somebody these days in a world of text messaging and private messaging and Facebook and Instagram and all these things. There's nothing better than hearing the sound of somebody's voice on the phone and just hearing how they feel, what's going on with them, how are they doing. And that includes also doing in-person meetings, right? Depending, obviously be safe due to COVID. But today I went out and had lunch, had coffee with a gal who's looking into getting her real estate license and trying to figure things out. And it was a fantastic opportunity to sit down face to face, get to know her, hang out in a coffee shop for a little bit, right? And so one of the things that I've started doing when it comes to meetings is you always have that conversation that says, oh my goodness, we should get together. And then you never do, right? So now when somebody says that, I make sure to say, awesome, send me 2 or 3 times that work for you, and I'm going to put it in my calendar. And over the last couple months, I've had more in-person meetings, coffee, lunch, happy hour than I've had in a long time. And it's really been good for my soul and good for my spirit. And I'm sure that it's good for them as well. So what can you do today to make some phone calls? And they don't have to be, hi, I'm calling to see if you want to buy or sell real estate. They can be, hey, how are you doing? How's life? What's new with you? What's going on with you? And what I do know is that every time I do this, within days, I literally get some sort of a referral or some sort of recommendation from somebody. So I encourage you to get on the phone, schedule some time with people. Number 2 is send out an email and be open and honest in your email. Hey, I'm just reaching out. I haven't talked to a lot of people in a while and I'd love to connect with you. You can write little stories about yourself, your life. That's what I do with my database. And so these are some fantastic things that you can do. Reaching out to your community. I can tell you that my good friends Lee and Julie Moritas and Johnny Moe have a thing called My Town and Explore My Town. It's a great community service that they've created where they're doing videos of local businesses in the area. Now, with all of the COVID, again, we've got a lot of business people that are struggling, right? Small businesses are having a tough time. And so if you can go out and help promote that business in any way with their Explore My Town is a fantastic resource. And if you want information about that, feel free to message me. I'll be happy to connect you with Lee and Johnny on what they're doing with that program, but it's fantastic. Follow those guys on Facebook and social media and you can see what they're doing. Another great option is virtual open houses. Below on number 6, you'll see my good friend Leslie. Thank you to her for this idea. But what she's done is she's gone out and done virtual open houses and done virtual walkthroughs for clients. Then she uploads it to YouTube and she can put the specific private settings just for that particular client. But I love that idea. And that has been, I've done several virtual walkthroughs and open houses for clients over the last few months. Making sure that you're doing professional photographs and 3D and Matterport on all of your listings. Zillow now has a special feature where you can upload 3D pictures and it pushes the rankings of your listings up in their website. So again, adding the 3D and Matterport on all your listings is a great way, and video tours, so much stuff we can do now with a simple iPhone, right? That we never had the option to do before. Another thing is on your listings, making sure to add measurements of the rooms and homes and things like that so that people can get an idea of how big this space is. So this is a great resource, and these are all fantastic ideas that you guys can utilize to get creative. And I've seen all of this stuff come out in the last 6 months. A lot of this was not things that we were doing before. So this means to me that people have gotten really creative on what they're doing, right? Another option is thinking outside the box. This is somebody who, again, was doing a live virtual open house. So it says, are you enjoying a quarantine at home, but still want to hunt for homes? Well, Roy Powell is hosting a Facebook Live open house at 11 a.m. on Sunday, March 15th for an absolutely fabulous and unique historical home in Wallingford. So again, he went through and just created an online virtual Facebook Live and got a ton of views on this. It was pretty cool. So you can go follow facebook.com Seattle Divas. These guys did some really creative stuff during COVID, which I just loved. Okay, next is stay focused, right? Make sure you can go and get your vision boards up. If you have struggled with that, now is a perfect time to do that, okay? Goals versus priorities is another fantastic class that I've done. It's available on YouTube. And oops, I will in the below the recordings of this, we'll make sure to post the links that we have here. Create a support network group, right? Create a group of other people in your market and other agents even in your area where you can not only support each other, but you can also create accountability groups. Accountability groups are fantastic. In fact, for many of you agents who are already with EXP, we have a track class that is happening every Thursday. It's an awesome accountability group, and you guys can join in on that if you like. Number 5 would be meditation gratitude journals. There's never been a better time than to be grateful for what is happening in your life. It's not easy. I get it. There are days when it's really hard to be grateful, but pull out a little journal, get a little composition book, and just write down 3 to 5 things every day that you're grateful for. If you're having a bad day, this is a fantastic way to turn that frown upside down, right? Turn it around. And meditation is so valuable. Number 6 is, again, ask for help. I know I've said this a few times, but that's because so many of us are very stubborn and not very good at asking for help, right? So this is a great point to make sure you're focusing on. Number 7, this was a fantastic video. Let me see if I can get it to come up. Hold on a second. This was, let me see if I can find it. Here it is. All right, I'm going to see if I can share this. This was really awesome. Let me change this real quick. This was super awesome that I found, and I love this. So again, we'll post the links to this. Let me see if I can post this link right now in the group chat. But what we'll also do is we will include it when we record when we post the recording and edit the recording. So this, I'm not going to play this whole thing because it's about 15 minutes.
You can do this. This video was inspired by Gary Vaynerchuk. He is so passionate about people and agents and local businesses creating lots of content. Whether you're a real estate agent or a small business owner, you have to spend time marketing your business. So you either have time or money. Let me show you how, using very little of both, you can get these 20 pieces of content. I want you working smarter, not harder. It's 2017.
All right, so I'm not going to play the whole video. I did post the link over here in the chat. So what I'll do is I'm going to go ahead and you guys can watch that anytime you want, but it's fantastic. Let me share this screen again. Hold on a second. There we go. And what she does is she gives you a bunch of ideas on what you can post as far as video on Facebook and Instagram. So Facebook Live, Instagram Live, some great resources and ideas. So there's tons and tons of options and opportunities and classes and all kinds of stuff you guys can do. So I really encourage you to stay focused, create your vision board. Definitely watch my goals versus priorities class. It's a fantastic class, one of my best and most highly attended of all of them. Create a support network group, right? There's some fantastic accountability groups and network groups, and get out that gratitude journal, right? And spend a few minutes. It's only a 13-minute video of watching this one by Melanie, who created 20 different pieces of content in short and simple ways. It's fantastic. Look for other opportunities, right? There might be some BPOs. If you don't know what a BPO is, it's a broker price opinion. There's lots of companies out there that do pay. I encourage you to be cautious. Don't pay anybody else to do BPOs. They should be paying you. Short sales may make a comeback. It's something that you may want to keep an eye out on in your market. REOs, again, may come back. There are a few now. I don't think we're going to see the REO market like we did in history, but it is something to get educated about and learn more about. Reaching out to investors. There are still investors in a lot of markets who are buying and selling homes. And you may want to look at getting a second job. You know, the truth is we're in amazing times right now. And honestly, that's great, but there's so much opportunity. Things like Lyft and Uber and DoorDash, Postmates, online learning and online business platforms. I mean, more people have the ability and opportunity to work from home than ever in history, right? Things have changed, and we've seen over this last year how different people have figured out ways to work. The company that we work for, EXP, was built for this. We all operate in a virtual world. In fact, this week we've had what's called EXPCon, which normally was held physically in person in Las Vegas. And this year we did it all online in a virtual world. Over 20,000 people will have logged in and attended this online class this online event where there are literally hundreds of hours of education and training that are being taught and and recorded. So lots and lots of opportunity, more than has ever been before. Most importantly, it's important to stay positive. Keep your energy high. Don't hang out with people who are, Debbie Downers and negative. If you're struggling with keeping your energy high, reach out to someone else who may be able to help with that. Watch motivational videos. There's tons of them on YouTube. Pull out some personal development books. Get out in nature, right? Sunshine is always good for the soul. Now, you might live in an area where there is not sunshine, but that doesn't mean you can't get out and go for a walk. Get in your yard, buy some fresh flowers to put in your house, get some candles that make your house smell good, right? Read all those books you've been putting off reading. Have a dance party with your family, right? Get out there and crank up the music and dance around your house. If you don't have family local, put one together with some of your friends. You can watch some comedy shows, right? There's tons of great comedians. There's tons of great shows on Netflix and Hulu that you can binge watch. I know my husband and I have been watching old seasons of shows like Frasier and Cheers and all those, which just, you can't help but laugh on those, right? Pull out some board games and play with your family, and do some fun cooking if you enjoy cooking. So these are all some great ways to stay positive, stay upbeat, and do everything you can to keep your soul and your spirit alive, right? So last but not least, I am available anytime. This is my personal phone number, my personal cell phone, and my personal link to get into my calendar and spend some time on Zoom. Now, if you think, oh, I don't want to bother Marguerite, she's too busy, I'm going to give you a story to wrap up with today. So imagine that you've had a buyer that you've been working with for a few months, and you've been showing them homes, sending them properties, a whole bit. And you call them on Monday to check in with them. They're like, oh my goodness, Marguerite, I'm so glad you called. I'm really excited. We went over the weekend to this open house and we just fell in love with it. And we wrote up an offer with the agent. We didn't want to bother you because we know how busy you are. How many of you just had your heart sink, right? That's because people think that you're too busy and they don't want to call you. So I am not too busy for your call. As long as you schedule some time or shoot me a text or call me, I'm available to help you with anything you need. I really encourage you to do that. I don't want to find out that you've made, some challenging choices, or worse yet, or having mental health issues that you need help with because you didn't feel like you could connect with somebody. So I'm here for you. I'm here to answer questions. I'm here to help you with your business, help with anything that you need. But I think it's just on Facebook. Here's the code, Lisa, for my database program. It's called All Clients, and it's like $30 a month. If you use that link, I think you get a $5 discount, and I get $5 or something like that.
Okay.
So it's pretty cool. And I love it because it's very simple to use. And I could do a training on that in the future as well. Most importantly, what's really important is just that we keep moving and stay engaged. It's really easy to disconnect, right? It's easy to kind of shut down and go into our pity party world. And what I have found and heard from many other people, as the ones who actually, the guy who spoke yesterday at EXPCon from Shark Tank, he said the difference between successful, right, and not successful is how quickly you get out of your pity party. Yeah. I don't think he said it quite that way, but that's what I know. That was the gist of the conversation. So there you go. All right. Any other questions, Lisa?
Is this class for anyone, right? So I can share it with 2 other people. They're
With any
okay.
company. Yep, we do not
I have
restrict it.
2 mentees that I'm going to refer that they would benefit. They're just starting.
Absolutely.
She's just getting her license back. She had it. Stephanie had it. She's taking the test, and then she let it go for a couple years. So,
Awesome.
but she's getting it back. And then Dave is he works with the builder. So he's coming back into residential. So I think this would be good for him.
And I'm always open to ideas for trainings. So if you guys have training ideas or thoughts or something you want to learn or you want me to talk about, please just message me and we'll add it to the list. Kiara is working on getting her real estate license too, but she's also my assistant. And so she is keeping track of all of that. So if you have things that you guys want to learn about or you want me to talk about, please message me and we'll get it on the calendar. I'm always trying to figure out ideas of what to talk about. So I really want this to be more about what you guys need as opposed to what I think you need, right? So, and let's see, Pam, thank you. I appreciate, Pam, your comments. Thanks so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, and any other questions you guys have or thoughts or ideas on anything?
I think I'm good.
Yeah,
that was
I'm
great
good too.
All right, well, we'll wrap it up. Kira will be editing this and posting it in our groups. So we do have the recordings. A group that you guys can add people to that are not currently with EXP is Real Estate Success Strategies and Accountability. That group is open to anybody with any company. So I know Kira has the link for that one. But if you're not already in that group here, I'll post it right here as well. Then you guys can add people to that group, and I'm posting things in there quite a bit. If they're already with EXP or joining EXP, then you'll want to add them to our one EXP family group. Okay, but either way, these recordings are posted in both those groups. She puts them on my YouTube channel. So you could go over there and subscribe to my YouTube channel, and they will be posted on YouTube. Perfect. So you guys can definitely follow my YouTube channel and let me know if you have any questions or anything I can help you with.
Fantastic. Have a great night, everyone.
Thanks.
Good night, you guys. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Marguerite.
Bye.
Yep. Bye-bye.